So you have an important paper to submit, but you want to make sure everything's looking just right before you hit that send button. Hey everyone, my name is Zach Nambu. I'm a professional educator and researcher, and today I'm going to teach you how to correctly format a paper before you submit it to your professor or an academic journal. Let's get started. So today we're mostly going to be following APA rules, but really what I'll teach you will apply to any format. You might just need to make a couple tweaks here or there. So the first thing we want to do is make sure our essay is in a consistent and readable font. Okay, you can see this sample essay I have in front of me. The fonts are all kind of mixed up. We want to make sure that they all look the same. Now the two most common font choices are Calibri or Times New Roman. Calibri is a sans serif font that's easier to read on digital displays, while Times New Roman is a serif font that looks better when it's printed out. Either way, you can't really go wrong, so I will just hit Command A or Control A on a PC, and that will select all of my text, and I'll go ahead and switch everything to Calibri this time. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is, with our text still selected, let's make sure that everything is at a good size so that's nice and readable. So the most common size is going to be either 11 or 12. In my experience, you can't really go wrong with 12, so let's just go with that. Okay, again, with our text still selected, the next thing we want to do is change the line spacing, which you can find under this icon here. Now, the most common choice here is going to be 2.0 or double spaced. And the reason for that is once everything is double spaced, there are spaces in between each sentence. And so this just makes it easier to read, but also if you're printing it out, your professor or editor can write notes in those spaces in between the lines. One other thing that I want to make sure is that all of my paragraphs are properly indented, and that just means that at the first line of the paragraph, they go in a bit to make sure that it's a bit separated from everything else. It helps the reader to see where one paragraph ends and another begins. And so to do that, I'll just put my cursor where I see a paragraph should start, and I will just hit the Tab key on my keyboard. And I'll scroll down and do that for this paragraph as well, the Tab key, and one more time here for the final paragraph. And when you're doing this, you want to make sure that you don't use the space bar and just space in a bunch of times. It's not going to look right. Things are probably not going to line up. Much better to just use the Tab key and save yourself a headache later. And one other thing that I would like to do is to bold my headings here. So we have a title here. This is separated from the main text. I'll go ahead and bold this. And then at the top of the screen, you can hit this little mark and this will center it on the page. And we'll do the same thing on our references page. So references is a heading here, separated out. We will bold it and then center it. And if you'd like, you can also go ahead and make this a bit bigger than the rest of your text, just so that it stands out. Change this from 12 to 14, and that's looking pretty good. So those are the major formatting things out of the way, but stick around because there's quite a few finishing touches we can use to make sure that everything is looking as good as it can before we hit that submit button. So the first thing is, as you can see, there are quite a few red squiggles on my page, which means there are some spelling or grammar mistakes in this essay that I will want to get rid of before I submit it. So how we're going to do that in Word is under the Review tab. So if you hit the Review tab here, there's a button that says Editor. And if you click that, it will do a quick scan, and it will scan your essay for spelling and grammar mistakes. So once it's done, it will give you a percentage. So this has an 81 score. It's not perfect. And all you have to do is either click on the spelling or the grammar section, and it will show you each of those mistakes one by one for you to review. So I will go ahead right now and click the spelling tab. And you can see here, it thinks that this person's name is a spelling mistake, and it is not, obviously. So we'll go ahead and ignore that one. And the red line will go away. Again, this person's name is not a spelling mistake. I know that for sure, so I can hit the ignore. But here, it's pointing out that I spelled the word environment incorrectly. Okay, and it's suggesting instead that we spell it this way. And that looks right to me. So all you have to do is go ahead and click on the correct spelling, and it will automatically change it for you and jump you to the next mistake. So I'll just scroll back up here And you can see it's now correctly spelled. And we'll just go ahead and go through and carefully check each mistake that has been highlighted. And of course, make sure that it is a mistake, because remember, it picks up things like names as mistakes, even though they're not. So you do have to be a little bit careful. And just like that, it seems that most of our spelling and grammar issues are gone. We don't have as many red squiggles on the page anymore. So this paper is looking much better than it was, but there's still one more thing that we want to check on, and that is the reference list. For the sake of this video, I'll just assume that the APA is all good, but you should always double check this just to make sure before hitting the submit button. Okay, so first, we want to make sure that our references have what is called a hanging indent. Okay, and that just means the first line goes out as it normally would, but the lines under go inward. And sort of like tabbing paragraphs, this just helps to see where each reference is separated. Okay, so how do you get this hanging indent? Well, it's pretty easy. Let's just go ahead and highlight all of our text in our reference list, and then right-click. From this menu, select Paragraph. And the only box we need to pay attention to here is the one that's under indentation that says Special. Right now it's blank because I don't have any special indentation, but I'll click this drop-down menu and select Hanging from it. Hit OK, and there you have it. All of our references now have a hanging indent. This reference is looking a little bit weird for some reason. We will fix that. But now it is much easier to see where each reference ends and where each reference begins. And so the last thing that we're going to do is make sure that our references are in alphabetical order. As you can see, mine are all mixed up here. What you could do is select each one by one, cut it, and paste it where it belongs. But as you can imagine, if you have a big reference list, that's not going to be a lot of fun. So let me give you a pro tip to make sure that you're doing this in the most efficient way possible. So we will just highlight all of our references, make sure that we're on the Home tab, and then on the Home tab here, there is a button called Sort. So we'll hit the Sort button and sort by paragraphs and text. Okay, this should be this way by default, but if it's not, you can just go ahead and change the correct option. And we'll just go ahead and make sure it's on ascending, which means it's going to go from A to Z, and hit OK. And just like that, our reference list is in alphabetical order and it's good to go. So hopefully this video has helped you get your paper ready for submission. If it helped you out, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.